this lesson, we're going to talk about numbers. We're going to start talking about whole numbers, decimal numbers. We're going to talk about fractions, and we're going to talk about the order of operations. When we talk about whole numbers, we mean the main numbers, the main whole numbers. When we say 1, 2, 3, 4, 15, 16, 17, these are whole numbers because they consist of whole quantities. However, just as you would in money, you can have 3 pounds, 15 pence. The 15 pence is a decimal part of the whole number because you divide the whole number into 100 parts in that case. In other cases, you might divide it into thousands. In other cases, you might divide it into more. The idea is that the numbers after the decimal can go up to infinity. The numbers before the decimal can go up to infinity. The decimal just divides the whole from the decimal or the part side. So if we want to have an illustration, when I have, for example, let's say I'm talking about 125 pounds and 15 pence. 100, this is the hundredths. This is the hundredth value. This is the tens value. This is the units value. Okay, and then this will be again as far as we go, this will be again going backwards into the decimal side. Now the decimal in overall has a reason because it's sort of part of what we call fractions. When we say fractions, we're talking also about parts of a whole. A half is a fraction. A half is just one whole divided by 2. And a half or 2 halves make a 1. In this case, what we do is we add the top bit because the bottom bit is equal. We call this the denominator. And we call this the numerator. So we're adding 1 plus 1 over. The denominator maintains its value because they are equal. They have the same value. So that is 2 over 2. In this case, because they are both, the denominator and the numerator are the same value, they can be simplified into, because they both go into 2. 2 goes into 2 as 1. 2 goes into 2 as 1. So they would be equal to a whole. There are other forms of fractions. What we need to know for now in terms of fractions is that it is a numerator, it is a division of a whole, which is the numerator, into parts. The number of parts is the denominator. After talking about fractions, we're just basically getting to know fractions. There are several operations that can be done on fractions. Just as we have operations on whole numbers, we have operations on fractions. When I talk about operations, I'm talking about addition, I'm talking about subtraction, I'm talking about multiplication, division. I'm also talking about indices. This is when you have something to a power, and brackets on its own. B stands for brackets. I for indices or powers. D for division. M for multiplication. A for addition. S for subtraction. It just means basically that we are starting with brackets first, whatever's inside a bracket, and then we take care of the powers, and then we take care of the division, the multiplication, and then finally we carry out the addition and subtraction. Here, let's have an example of bit mass. Let's say I start off with 5 plus 3 times brackets 8 minus 2 squared. In this case, I will have to start with the brackets first. I'll have to start with the brackets. I look at what's inside the bracket. I do 8 minus 2 squared. Of course, that means that I'll have to do the squared first because it's an index. So this will be 8 minus 2 times 2, which is 4, which is equal to 4. Now I take that back into the equation, or into the expression. I'll go back to 5 plus 3 times 4. Now I do the multiplication. 3 times 4 is just 12. So my equation becomes 5, or my expression becomes plus 12 equals to 17, which should be my final answer. So what I'm saying is, instead of starting with the addition first, I should always start with the brackets. If in the brackets, in this case, it happened that we have an index. Index goes before subtraction and multiplication or division. After I've completed the brackets, this operation, I move to the next operation and then the next. This is today's lesson. Next lesson will be percentages, which is also related to fractions.